Hold on, dry fruits have added sugar in them.
Yes. So the dates that you get, right, the fresh dates don't have added sugar in them. They do have sugar, but it's not the processed sugar. But if you see the ones that are packaged, they already have a sugary syrup around it. That's the
So,
sugar.
hold on, what am I doing there? I'm taking them for my health benefits, and that already has added sugar in it for the
Yes.
sweetness.
Yes.
Welcome to this new episode of Insights by Zarity Health. Here we discuss topics related to everyday health with experts. My name is Abhimanyu Chauhan. I am the CEO and co-founder at Zarity Health and the host here. My aim from these conversations is to get practical takeaways that you can start implementing today. Today, we're discussing about an item that's part of every kitchen, sugar. And if you haven't already, check out our previous episodes where we discuss about salt, its impact on health, and the nutritional benefits. So let me invite my colleague Majeedah Khan, and then we'll start off with the questions.
Hey guys, this is Majeedah, and I am the clinical nutritionist at Zarity. In the past, I've worked with health tech companies like Healthify Me and also St. John's Research Institute. Here at Zarity, I take care of consultations and healthcare programs.
Great. This is an item which we are discussing today, which, like I said, it's part of every kitchen. And I'm sure many or majority of the Indians wake up to a spoonful of sugar in their cup of tea or maybe in a glass of milk. And I thought that while covering all the kitchen essentials, after salt, this is the best topic to discuss at. So, sugar is there for the sweet taste part of it, but are there any nutritional benefits also?
Apart from being an immediate source of energy, there is no such nutritional benefits of sugar. So, if you are feeling lightheaded or you have low blood sugar levels or you just need that immediate boost of energy, then you can consume a small amount of sugar. But that's that.
Just for energy, there's no other nutritional benefit that I'm getting for sugar.
No, you're just getting calories from sugar. That's it.
Very simple question before we delve deep into it. Do I really need to have external sources of sugar?
Like I said, if you have lightheadedness or you have a low blood sugar levels, or you might have noticed that there are people who in sports who heavily depend on glucose for that immediate source of energy, right? So in those cases, you can consume external source of sugar. But otherwise, the regular food items that we consume also contain some form of sugar. You don't have to take anything other than these to get extra energy.
Got it. So I'm aware that there are some forms of sugar available. I have powdered sugar, which is used in sweets. Then there are also brown sugar and various. So what are the different types of sugar available to me as a consumer?
So when we divide sugar, there are broadly two categories. There's one natural sugars, and then we have artificial sweeteners. Natural sugars are found in our usual food items. Say there's lactose in milk, there's fructose in fruits, and then there's sucrose in sugarcane. If you consume these products as it is, then it can actually be beneficial for you. Because apart from sugar, they also have essential nutrients like, say, vitamins, minerals, protein, and fiber. But the problem arises when you start taking the processed forms of these sugars. For example, you get white sugar from sugarcane. So that's natural sugars. Then we have artificial sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners are quite in the news recently. So if we talk about artificial sweeteners, we can either get them from plants or they can also be manufactured chemically. And some of these names would be stevia, sucralose, xylitol, and of course, aspartame. And you can find these sweeteners in, say, sugar free pills or sachets, sugar free biscuits, even protein supplements, and also sugar free chewing gums. But the latest research recommends against using these sweeteners because of the health effects that they might have on their consumption. Basically, these are the kinds of sugars that are available.
Right. So you spoke about aspartame. Let's
Yeah.
come to that in the later part of the conversation that we had. It's quite a hot topic nowadays. But
Yes.
you spoke about two different types of sugar sources, natural and artificial. Right? Help me understand, where am I getting my natural sugars from?
Right. You have your table sugar, the white sugar that you add it in your tea, coffee, or desserts. Apart from this, there's something called added sugars, which you will find in almost all processed food items. Say your ketchup, your jams, your biscuits, chocolates, of course, bread. Your energy bars, packaged fruit juices, flavored yogurt, even dry fruits have added sugars to them.
Hold on, dry fruits have added sugar in them.
Yes. So the dates that you get, right, the fresh dates don't have added sugar in them. They do have sugar, but it's not the processed sugar. But if you see the ones that are packaged, they already have a sugary syrup around it. That's the
So,
sugar.
hold on, what am I doing there? I'm taking them for my health benefits, and that already has added sugar in it for the
Yes.
sweetness.
Yes.
So I was just thinking that where are we really going with all of this, right? I am consuming dry fruits for the health benefits of it, and now it has a taste element also attached to it. So can I differentiate it when I look at a packet? Do you have a tip there if I'm looking at a dry fruit packet and specifically dates? Right, this is something I consume personally. I take it before the workout. So when I'm feeling hungry or something like that. So can I check the packet and see if it has some added or artificial sugar?
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. So, what you can do is you can develop a habit of checking the nutrition label whenever
Hmm.
you go for shopping. And the nutritional label will have something called added sugars. And this is the extra sugar that is added in the food item. So, if you avoid food items that have this added sugar, you're automatically cutting down on the excess sugar in your diet.
Okay, I get it. There are two types of sugar, and then you basically shocked me by saying that even my dry fruits have sugar in them, could have sugar in them. But what is the problem there? Like, to go to the fundamentals of it, why is it a problem for me?
Okay. So, I'll have to pull up some stats for this for you. There was a study in 2021 that was done, and
Hmm.
according to that, about 605 million Indians are obese,
Okay.
which means more than 40% of the population is already at risk of developing diabetes. Apart from this, another 237 million Indians are either diabetic or pre diabetic. So, all of this
237 million.
37,
Okay.
yes. If you see, about 60% of the population is at risk of developing serious health conditions. So, if you take sugar or you take products that contain sugar, it does not just lead to weight gain and diabetes, but in the long term, it can affect your heart, your kidneys, it can also
Hmm.
affect your liver, your dental health, and cause
Hmm.
various other health problems.
These are just the problems to begin with. Other than obesity, we have many risks associated with sugar, right? So, because you speak of these stats, right? Tell me how much sugar is an average Indian taking on a daily basis?
Okay. According to a stat in 2015, an Indian consumes about an average of 50 grams of sugar in a day. So, in an entire year, you're consuming about 18 kilos of sugar.
Okay, that's a lot. That's a staggering number to look at. 18 kgs. That's almost what, 20, 30% of my body weight. Yeah, pardon
Yeah,
my
but
maths.
you might also wonder that this is so much sugar. How am I even
Yeah.
consuming all of this sugar? But if you see, if you're somebody who likes tea or coffee and you take about 2 to 3 times a day, you're already consuming 30 grams of sugar. And additionally, if you go for sugary treats like, say, chocolates or biscuits, cakes, even the normal bread that we eat, you can imagine where the numbers would be.
So you rightly point, when you say 50 grams of sugar in a day, right? That's what we are taking. So how much do we really need in a day? Do you have that number with you?
Yeah. So we have something called the ICMR, which is the
Okay.
Indian Council of Medical Research, and they recommend not more than 5 to 7% of your total calories from sugar. And this should not go beyond 30 grams per day. So, for example, if you are consuming 2000 calories in a day, 7% of this would be about 35 grams of sugar.
Got it.
But since 30 grams is the upper limit, you should be consuming lesser than that.
All right. And this is not even including the goals that many people have that, hey, I need to gain weight or I need to reduce weight. So you go on a calorie deficit diet or you increase your calories to gain weight. So it's a percentage of the total calories consumed, and the upper limit is 30 grams. And like you say, we are taking around 50 grams of sugar every day. So that's 20 grams extra in any case, right? That's, yeah. The next time I'm inviting somebody over for a cup of tea, I need to think about that again, I guess. Or maybe sugar free tea or something. And where is the majority portion of this sugar, the 50 gram, on an average, coming from in my plate or in my cup or wherever I'm taking it?
So we need to understand this that India is the second largest producer of sugar. And we are the largest consumers of sugar and jaggery in the world, right? And this is mostly because we love adding jaggery or anything sweet in almost everything that we eat. Even savory food items contain jaggery. And this can either be for taste or in the name of tradition. So, this
Hmm.
is one reason why we are consuming excessive sugar. Another reason, shockingly, is the consumption of the sugary drinks, the sugar sweetened beverages,
Hmm.
packaged fruit juices, sodas. These things are adding up to our sugar intake.
So the larger reason, so we are taking it more because we are producing it more. That's like the gist of it. And so in our culture or in most things, we have just overdosed on the amount of sweet that we have. And I have a question to that, but I'll hold on to that. But you told me about the calculation of the daily sugar intake that I should be going for is around, the upper cap is around 30 grams. But how much sugar can I really take in a day? What's the upper limit there?
Yeah, again, so it depends on how many calories you take, right? So, for instance, if you take about 1,500 calories in a day, say the upper limit, that is 7% of this would be about 26 grams. So, you
Hmm.
could roughly restrict your intake to say 25 grams a day. So,
Okay.
you can calculate that way. But the lesser you take, the better.
Understood. I just know that majority of my sugar is this white sugar that I buy from the market. What are the other options? I hear brown sugar is there. And I also hear a lot of people speak about jaggery being this ultimate hack or ultimate substitute to sugar. And people have started substituting jaggery in tea, claiming health benefits for it. So is this really true? And what are my alternatives there?
So there are different types of sugar available. Like you said, there's brown sugar, there's jaggery, there's honey, there's cane sugar, palm sugar, and I can just keep going, right? But what we need to understand is that all of these sugars have almost the same amount of calories because they're all made up of sucrose. Sucrose is a type of simple sugar, right?
Okay.
So if you see 1 teaspoon of white sugar has about 20 calories. The same amount of brown sugar or jaggery has about 18 to 19 calories.
So
And
no difference
honey
there.
has no difference there.
Right.
And honey has about 21 calories. So again,
Hmm.
it's in the same ballpark, all the numbers. It does not really matter what kind of sugar you go for, but what's important is you know how much you're consuming daily.
But practically speaking, if I'm adding honey to my bowl of cut fruits or something like that, you need to add more honey to get that sweeter taste. Does this mean that when I'm substituting my regular white sugar with honey, I'm adding more of it? And what is the ratio or what is the proportion there? Like when you speak about 1 teaspoon of full of sugar and 1 teaspoon full of honey, am I getting the same calories? And because I'm pouring more of honey in it.
You are getting the same amount of calories. So, because if you take 1 teaspoon of sugar that has 20 calories, 1 teaspoon of honey, 21 calories, it's almost the same. So, the more honey you keep adding, the more calories you are taking. There are some research that suggests the benefits of jaggery and honey. See, jaggery is also known to cure constipation. It helps with digestion. It can also help with liver functions. And it also possesses antioxidant properties. And if you talk about honey, then honey also has antioxidant properties, antibacterial, anti inflammatory properties as well. So, while all these benefits exist, we shouldn't overlook the fact that ultimately they account for the same calories as white sugar and they should be consumed minimally. If you take excess of any of these sugars, is going to result in calorie surplus, which means you are going to gain weight eventually. And then the trail of diseases start weight gain, obesity, diabetes, and so on and so forth.
All right. So what you're telling me is that honey might have other nutritional benefits, like similarly jaggery would have other nutritional benefits, but as far as calories are concerned, I'm not doing any good there. So the more honey I add, the more calories it adds to my plate, and eventually weight gain or any other problems like that. Interesting. When you go to these cafes, all these fancy cafes now, so there are always 2, 3 sachets of sugar available there, and I'm always confused. I look at the other person and I go like that. Okay, is he judging me? Do I pick out a brown sugar packet? Do I take a white sugar packet? I definitely want to choose the healthier option. So what do you recommend there? Is that an alternative to the normal white sugar that we have?
Okay, I think the first question that we should address here is what is brown sugar and what exactly it is made up of, right? So, brown sugar, just like white sugar, comes from sugarcane. and it is made up of the same type of sugar, which is sucrose. But what makes brown sugar a little different compared to the white sugar is that it has molasses added to it. And molasses is nothing but a product that you get when you refine sugarcane. Right? It's a caramel-like consistency. So when you add that to white sugar, you get brown sugar. So from the nutrition aspect, 1 teaspoon of brown sugar has about 19 calories, and the same white sugar has 20 calories. It's the same calories. But the reason why brown sugar has gained so much popularity is because it has certain minerals in it, say calcium, iron, or potassium. But 1 teaspoon of brown sugar has only 4 milligrams of calcium and 0.04 milligrams of iron. So they are present in such minuscule quantity that consuming brown sugar for these minerals is absolutely baseless. So the fact that brown sugar is a healthier choice, I don't think it's anything but a facade.
I think I need to get a T-shirt made of that whenever I go to a cafe. That brown sugar is not cool and it's not healthy. But I find this brown sugar forms kind of a lump, or it attracts moisture. Or when you put into your cup of coffee, you need to add more of it. I don't know whether that's psychological or whether that's actually true. It's less sweet than white sugar, is what I feel. Then let me talk about our multiple vlogs and too many short videos out there telling you to go on a no sugar diet. I think most of the people who have heard us up to now also feel that okay, these guys are also speaking of the same thing, ki sugar ban karna hai, right? How good is that no sugar diet for, and should you even take it? Or how beneficial are these challenges when they tell you that okay, let's go on a 15-day no sugar diet or a 30-day no sugar, hashtag no sugar 30 days, something like that? How scientific or helpful is that for my health?
Yeah, I was waiting for you to ask something like this because I would never recommend a no sugar diet. And I would not encourage anybody to go for these absurd challenges without proper research backing them. The reason being, sugar is addictive. And there are multiple studies that claim how addictive sugar can get. One of the reasons why this is because sugar releases something called dopamine in your body. And dopamine is a chemical that makes you feel good. It gives you a sense of pleasure. Exactly why you would want to have a cake or chocolates when you want to celebrate something, because you want to reward yourself, you want to feel good about it. But if you cut this pleasure out of your life entirely all at once, you are bound to experience some sort of withdrawal symptoms. And this can either be headaches or irritation, anxiety, lack of attention, and you might even have a depressive mood. So eventually, just to make yourself feel better, you are going to go back to sugar. And in no time, you are promising yourself at another try with this no sugar diet, right? It's not going to work out. The best way to cut down on sugar is to do it gradually.
So let me reframe the question. Okay, so what you're saying is that I should not put a hard stop on sugar, but I could go ahead gradually reduce it to make it zero. Is that feasible, or is that something good I'll do for my health?
That is actually advisable because, like I said, sugar can get addictive, just like any other drugs or something like that. When you immediately get it out of your diet or out of your life, you are going to crave for it more. So the desire to control it is not going to be there. It's not going to work out. So if you want to eliminate sugar from your diet entirely, you want to get healthy, do it gradually so that you can stick to these small changes in the long run.
Makes sense. But I'm not sure if I can get off of sugar. That'd be going too much. Anytime I visit somebody's home, they offer a cup of tea or a coffee, and it's almost impossible to resist that. What I can try doing is, how about you tell me when I go to the market or whatever I'm trying to buy, which are the most common food items or drinks or products, according to you, that I should be most careful about with respect to sugar?
Firstly, you have diet cokes, and diet cokes have obviously artificial sweeteners in it, which we are not supposed to consume. But other than that, even if you go for these soft drinks, they have a lot of sugar in it. So if you see one serving of Pepsi or Coke might have, say, 40 grams of sugar in it, right? So it's best to avoid those.
Hold on, one serving, how much is that?
Might be close to like 300 or 400 ml. Like
That's
if you
like a
go to a
glass of
restaurant,
Coke.
yeah, that's an entire serving of Coke that you get in restaurants.
And sorry, what's the number that you put up for me? One
40
glass of
grams.
Coke has 40 grams of sugar in it. And you just told me that on an average, Indian consume about 50 gram of sugar. Am I not, if I'm not wrong? And 40
Correct.
gram just right there on the table, McDonald's or wherever I'm having it. But that I've got my daily dose of sugar right there and then.
More than
Amazing.
that.
More than that, right?
Yeah. So that's one thing that you need to stay away from. Secondly, just to stay away from the diet cokes or the soft drinks that is available in the market, we go for fruit juices. But if you see, even the packaged fruit juices have a lot of sugar in them, right? So the best alternative to this would be to prepare fresh fruit juices at home. So after, apart from the packaged fruit juices, there's chocolates, there's cakes, there's these chewing gums that keep munching on 2, 3 in a day that can add up to your sugar intake. Ketchup, jams, certain peanut butters that we consume, that we think is healthy, and we consume a lot of it in our smoothies, also has added sugars in them. Energy bars have sugars in them, and even bread, the normal white bread that most of us consume, also has sugar. So, the best way to deal with this is to always look at the nutrition label and avoid the food products that have a lot of added sugar in them.
Mm. So there is a juice, sugarcane juice, which has the name sugar in it, right up front for you. So is it really healthy in that case? Am I just drinking pure sugar, or what's going on there?
So, sugarcane juice does have benefits for certain conditions. And there are studies that suggest that taking a large amount of sugarcane juice can help with jaundice. Or, say, a glass of sugarcane juice along with some ginger can help with morning sickness in pregnant women. Or, if you're hypertensive, taking about one serving that's close to like 200 ml of sugarcane juice can be beneficial because it is rich in potassium. Right? But that's that. One serving of sugarcane juice has about 26 grams of sugar in it.
Mm. 26 grams.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just adding these numbers to my daily count. Yeah.
Yeah. All of it may sound a little scary, but that's the reason I said that if you want to cut down on sugar, you need to do it gradually. Otherwise, if you start reducing or start cutting out all these options at once, it's going to become very overwhelming and you're eventually going to give up on this healthy route that you'd want to take. So, yeah, coming back to sugarcane, one serving of sugarcane has about 26 grams of sugar in it. Although it might have certain benefits attached to it, it might not be an ideal choice for people with diabetes because it has no fiber also in it. So, it is going to lead to immediate spiking of blood sugar levels.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's better to avoid for people with diabetes.
Interesting. So what you're telling me is that most fruit juice is available in the market. So there is no real fruit juice available out there, right? And sugarcane juice is also mostly sugar, but it has some benefits. So you need to consult maybe somebody to figure out if it is the right choice for you or not. Can I get addicted to sugar? And how do you know that you're addicted to it? Because it's so subtle that you just want to have that one extra serving of mithai, but how do you know that you are addicted to it?
Okay. So the classic example I give is of my family members. Everybody in my family has a sweet tooth. So they'd want to have something sweet after every meal in a day.
Yeah.
And when they're hungry, they're like, do you have a chocolate or do you have sneakers or something like that? So that's one way I get to know that this person is like addicted to sugar and I need to wean them off the sugar.
Is it? That's a
Yeah.
hint for the first sign of addiction.
Yeah, the tendency to go for something sweet whenever you're hungry, or the habit of having something sweet after every meal, or sometimes you feel like kuch tikha kha liya, abhi kuch meetha chahiye. So all these things can actually be a sign that you are addicted to sugar. Or something as simple as you go to somebody's house, they add a little lesser sugar than what you're usually used to taking, and you feel chai bahut phiki hai. So that is also a sign that you are addicted to a lot of sugar in your diet. And like I said, sugar can be addicting. The product is itself like that because it makes you feel good. So yeah, watch out for these signs
So
when you
every
want
time
to
you
go into
hear
the market.
somebody demanding kuch meeta ho jaye, that's the first sign of addiction that you can hear about.
Yeah.
I purposely put that topic aside when you mentioned it, but tell me more about aspartame when you mentioned it. And what is this latest news about aspartame and WHO? What are your comments on it?
So it all began in May this year when WHO released an article that recommended all of us against using artificial sweeteners because it has some sort of negative effect on their consumption. And the article also went on to say that long term consumption of artificial sweeteners can increase your risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and also death in adults.
Can you help me understand where is this present in your daily food products or items? Where do you find aspartame more at?
The most common source of aspartame is diet soda. And most of us end up having diet Coke or diet Pepsi because we think that it's healthier, it does not have sugar, no calories, all those reasons. But yeah, this is one of the products that contain aspartame. Other than this, you can also find it in sugar-free gold. Also, sugar-free chewing gums like Mentos also has aspartame in it. You can also find it in sugar-free ice creams. So these are the sources from where you can get aspartame. And why this has been banned, why this has been labeled as something that can cause cancer, was released in on June 30th. That is when WHO labeled this product as carcinogenic and has recommended against using this or products that contain aspartame.
But I also hear contradictory news about, okay, hey, this is not really causing you cancer in the very first dose or amount that you're taking. There is an upper limit to it, and beyond that, only it causes cancer. So, how true is that, or what's the fact there?
Okay. So, like I said, having something sweet can be addicting, right? So, it can either be the white sugar or the sugar free sweeteners or the artificial sweeteners that you use. So, every time you would want to have something, you'd always want something sweet in it. So, if you think that switching to healthier alternatives is going to make you healthy and you have this for a long period of time, then the negative effects start kicking in. Also, there is a detailed analysis that is yet to be released on the 15th of July. But until then, it has been confirmed that this can lead to cancer. And so, anything that has potential side effects to it and something as huge as cancer, I think it's better to avoid it.
Just avoid it. Yeah, that's a thing that I would also go for. But it's present in so many items, and I think it's very difficult to also catch a hold of that small font at the back of the nutrition label that, okay, this has aspartame in it. And majority of them might not even mention it in that respect. It just says added sugar. So that's one thing, right? You also spoke about, so the moment when somebody speaks about sugar, and this you hear it everywhere you go, that if you eat more sugar, you're going to have diabetes, which I think is a wrong tactic. But does really more of sugar or increased intake of sugar cause diabetes?
Okay. So, firstly, I'd want everybody to understand that diabetes is not caused by a single ingredient. It is a consequence of various dietary and lifestyle negligence. So, if you ask me, does sugar intake lead to diabetes? Then the answer would be not directly. So, we've discussed this in our videos. Well, 1 teaspoon of sugar has close to 20 calories. And we've also discussed that excessive intake of calories will lead to weight gain or obesity. This condition increases your risk of developing diabetes by at least 80%.
Oh, okay. So
Right?
that's a route that we are taking, and it's not
Correct.
directly sugar. That's an increased calorie intake for that matter.
Correct. So,
Hmm.
increased calorie intake will lead to obesity. Once you're obese or you're overweight, there are 80% chances that you will get diabetes sooner or later. And with the shocking numbers of people who are diabetic and people who are already obese in our country, it's high time that we take serious measures in cutting sugar down or to start getting a little more healthier so that we can keep away from these really serious health conditions.
So, more of sugar leads to increased calories, leads to increased weight gain and obesity, and that would increase with like a 80% chance of becoming diabetic. Is that what you're telling me? So, there are also artificial sweeteners available claiming to be this is good for diabetes. And do you have a recommendation there for me? I just want to use them. So, mostly people use it in their regular tea or coffee. That's their major source of sugar coming in, right? What is your recommendation there?
So, apart from stevia, there's research that claims that all these artificial sweeteners have some sort of side effects to it. Stevia is basically a plant source of, say, sweetness. So, if you are a diabetic and you'd want to add something sweet to your tea, coffee, or say occasional treats, I would recommend products that contain stevia.
Okay. But then, as far as the calorie count is concerned, is the equal? You definitely don't need. I think it's a very small capsule, but I'm not sure about the calorie content for that. If I'm taking equal amount of stevia to match the sweet content, and then I have white sugar there, I definitely am getting lesser calories there, right?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that they advertise and that they claim, right? These artificial sweeteners do not really have calories in them. And the way you get stevia Either it can be in a powdered form, or you can get capsules, or you can get pills, or you can get drops of stevia. So adding just 1 or 2 drops to your daily tea or coffee is okay, but don't overdo it.
Got it. So there is no calorie count increasing there, but it's still better not to overdo the sweetening part of it.
Yes.
Okay. So you mentioned about natural sources of sugar and artificial sources of sugar, right? This is what I've also heard, and my mom is a diabetic, and I used to put a specific control on that. That even your fruits contain sugar. It's a natural sugar, but you also need to keep a cap on that, right? So as a diabetic, this is what I mean. Which are the fruits to have or avoid, and what are my alternatives there?
So you're absolutely right that fruits do contain some form of sugar, and that is called fructose. But you also need to understand that apart from this sugar, there are essential nutrients that are available in fruits, say vitamins, minerals, and also fiber. And it is this fiber that is going to prevent your blood sugar from spiking. Also, if you compare fruits with processed food, fruits definitely have lesser sugar in them. For example, if you take a pear, that has about 8% of sugar in it, whereas if you want to consume a bar of Snickers, there'd be 50% of sugar in it. So it's obviously better to go for fruits, but like you said, it is important to keep a cap on it. So, say 150 grams of fruits in a day for a diabetic should be perfectly okay. And if you talk about the kind of fruits that they can go for fruits that have more fiber in them, say citrus fruits or apples or pear or guava, these should be good to go.
Is it safe to say that the fruits that are tasting quite sweet also have more of natural sugars in them? Is that a very simple definition of looking at how sweet is this fruit or not?
That could be one of the reasons why it might have more sugar in it. But if you say that, okay, don't eat this, don't eat that also, then you are going to crave more and more of that particular food item. Right. So
Right.
the best way to go about it is keep a check on how much you're eating daily. The mango season was here, and I know a lot of diabetic people would have craved to have mango, and then they
Hmm.
would have avoided it for say 7 days or so. But then the 8th day they have 1 or 2 entire mangoes. So that's what happens when you keep all sort of restrictions in your diet. So
Hmm.
the best way to go about this would be consume with a conscious mind. So if I say that you can consume 150 grams of fruits in a day, say half of it could be from a mango, or half of it would be from an apple. So you can go about it that way. You don't have to avoid all sorts of fruits for a diabetic as such, but
Hmm.
consume consciously.
Got it. Let's try to sum things up in a bit. I want you to rate your order of preference for all the sugar options available for me. And to give you some examples, there is sugar, honey, then there is jaggery, and even cane sugar for that matter. So, how would you rate your preference for these?
Right. So, from the nutrition aspect, we know all these kinds of sugars have almost the same calories in them. Right? But if I had to rank them in order of preference, I would go with jaggery first, because there are studies that suggest jaggery can help with constipation, digestion, it boosts energy, it can also help with lung infections, and it also has antioxidant properties in them. And after jaggery, you can probably go for honey. Honey has antioxidant, antibacterial, and anti inflammatory properties in them. Although they might not have a lot of vitamins and minerals, they do possess important functions that can help the body. But again, we need to understand the fact that there are these benefits, but there's also calories that are coming along with it. So, as long as you consume these products minimally, I think it should be fine.
Got it. So, jaggery, right out there when you said it, that it has almost the same calories as sugar, but there are some additional health benefits. So, if you're looking to reduce weight, don't count on jaggery to do that for you. But if you're comparing that with white sugar or normal sugar, there are some extra health benefits for that part. And do all these sugar types have the almost the same amount of sweetness or content in them?
Yeah, they have almost the same amount of recommendation of how much you can take them on a daily basis, because all of them have the same calories in them. So it's better to restrict it to 5 to 7% of your total calorie intake, but obviously not going beyond 30 grams per day.
Understood. We have spoken about the types of sugar and how to look at them from a calorie perspective and not from a health perspective. That's what I can understand from the talk. Now, if my aim is to cut down on sugar, right? I know that I'm taking 50 gram is the average. I'm definitely taking more than that because I consume at least 2 cups of coffee or tea. So, how do I start limiting it? in a way that I sustain it also.
Right. So to limit your sugar intake, I can share 5 simple tricks with you that you can follow. But you need to understand that the best way to do this is to take it one step at a time. Because any sudden elimination of sugar from your diet will only make you crave for more over time. So we'll start with the easiest of them all. Like you said, we'll start with tea or coffee. So you can start by cutting down on the sugar that you add to your tea or coffee. For example, if you're used to taking, say, 2 teaspoons of sugar in your tea, you can reduce it to, say, 1 teaspoon or 1.5 teaspoon in a day, right? So as you get used to this taste, you can start cutting down further. So that's one thing you can do. Secondly, if again, like my family members, if you're somebody who likes having a chocolate or a meetha after every meal, you can probably cut it down to one meal in a day. And then gradually train yourself to have a small portion of dessert every alternate days. And then it could be, say, once in 3 days. So, this is how you can gradually cut down on sweets. And this way, you'll also look forward to the day when you'll be having something sweet. So, that's one thing you can do. And then, thirdly, you depend on soft drinks to refresh yourself. Then you can begin by swapping these with fresh fruit juices. And of course, don't add extra sugar to it. They're already going to be sweet. Also, if you're somebody who, if you go to a restaurant, you enjoy something sugary along with your meals, every once in a while, you can swap them with a calming tea. Say you can have jasmine tea, oolong tea, or even a lemon tea. Apart from helping you cut back on sugar, they're also going to help you digest the meal properly.
What is the recommendation for the tea that you just gave me? That's a new thing that I've heard.
Yeah, so it could just be like a cup of tea. Don't add any sugar to it. And yeah, you can do it every once in a while. Not that all the time you go to restaurants, start having this tea along with your meal. You're going to get bored of it. So every once in a while, just try having a tea. You'll also feel that at the end of the meal, you'll feel a little lighter. So it helps with digestion as well. So that's one thing you can do. And lastly, if you're a diabetic listening to this, I have something for you as well. You can treat desserts as a reward. So, for example, if you have salads for lunch for, say, 5 or 7 days straight, then you can reward yourself with a small portion or a small katori of, say, gajar ka halwa or ice cream that's made with stevia. Otherwise, if you have a festival that's coming up in the next 10 or 15 days, then you can cut all forms of sugar and increase your physical activity by, say, half an hour daily, right? So, this way, during the festival, you can consciously indulge in treats that you would enjoy. So, yeah, these are 5 simple ways to cut down on your sugar, and you do it gradually.
Understood. I don't know about many people, but I've tried stevia, many brands of stevia. It has some kind of a bitter aftertaste to it. I just can't get over that fact. And that's the only thing that's stopping me from substituting my tea or coffee with stevia. Is there a hack to that, or is it something that I have to be just okay with?
So you will gradually get used to the taste, right?
Uh,
So you can start by adding smaller portions of stevia. So if you add 2 pills to your tea, you can start by adding 1 pill to your tea and see how you feel with the taste. But if you go for any other sweetener, you are inviting more side effects along with it. Keeping that in mind, I think stevia is the better option for you.
Understood. I think, yeah, that's a good starting point for me. Like the steps that you mentioned to cut down on sugar. And this is the second thing that we are discussing after salt. And I already have a couple of things I need to start changing from today. I already knew that I'm taking a lot of salt in my day. And I thought that it was coming from external sources of food. But in fact, even in my daily food, I'm consuming enough not to blame these namkeens out there. And today you are telling me that consuming around 50 grams of sugar in a day. And you've thankfully given me some steps to get back on that. The next thing I would really want you to talk about is oil, which is something again part of kitchen essentials. I want to sort my grocery list. I want to understand here is a salt I'm going to buy. Here is how much sugar I need to buy, or now need to add stevia into my shopping list. And then I want to discuss more about oil with you. Any additional thing you would like to add on this topic when we are discussing sweeteners and sugar to it? Anything that you would like to add? Kids today consume a lot of sugar, right? That's the thing that they crave for.
Glad that you've mentioned that. So, what we do as parents is if we want to have the kid to have, say, healthier food options, we'd ask them to, "Ach, you have this food, and then I'll treat you with a chocolate." So, I
Right.
think that is something that we need to slowly fixing,
Change the
fixing it.
reward.
change the reward that you are going to
Right.
give your kid. So say that okay, you have smaller portion of this, and then maybe say earlier you would give them an entire bar of chocolate. Tell them that you will give them half a bar of chocolate. So
Hmm.
again, try the same trick with your kids as well, because when we talk about Indians who are obese, we are not just talking about adults; we are talking about children as well. And
Hmm.
a large number of kids these days are obese and they are also developing diabetes. I'm not talking about type 1 diabetes that that is a genetic
More related.
happening in your
Yeah.
body, or like a
Hmm.
hereditary thing in your that's happening with you. But
Hmm.
there are kids, there are teenagers who are developing type 2 diabetes as well because of obesity. So I think it's high time that we take care of our health, and also we take care of the health of the future generation, so that the numbers don't keep increasing from here.
Hmm. So the next time you are trying to buy this small little joy packet for your kid, which they keep craving, I think you need to really think through. And I see a lot of parents successfully limiting screen time for their kids. Now we need to also limit sugar intake for the kids, which is giving them a lot of rush. And I want to also, like, sometime in this week or the next, discuss about the content of sugar in these baby products, which baby products or these health drinks, that the powders that come you and make you a great runner, and the amount of sugar that there is. And many people, many bloggers, many influencers are talking about just the sugar content to it, but I would want to discuss more about the scientific part of these things. What is the harm that they are doing it? And then of course we discuss about oil in the next one. So thank you so much for covering the most essential kitchen item, which is sugar. And I would like to wrap things up here and discuss more in the next episode that we do. Thank you so much,
Right.
Majida.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to Insights by Zarity Health. We hope you enjoyed today's talk and gained valuable insights. If you want to stay updated on our latest episodes, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram, wherever you are watching this at. Help us grow by sharing this with anybody you think might find this interesting. And when you need to, you can consult our doctors and nutritionists through our website, zarity.care. We are a telehealth clinic that focuses on chronic care. Our experts spend more time with you to find out the root cause of your symptoms and then treat it with medicine, nutrition, and behavioral changes. And last but not the least, if you have questions that you think we should ask the experts, don't forget to put them in comments. Thanks once again for tuning in.